Welcome to video 26, fractions of a number. Now, if Mrs. Williams' voice gets a bit mannish, it's not because of anything concerning, it's because we are doing this as a united front, myself and Mrs. Williams.
Okay, so me and Mr. Slay, as you said before, are going to do our best teamship rule, being willing to compromise, because I teach fractions and fractions of a number when I draw them out. Mr. Slay does it in a quicker version, so we're going to combine those two together. So I'm first. I've got a fraction of a number question here. I've got 1/5 of 15, and remember this was called a unit fraction. That was in video 25. So here's how I'm going to explain how we're going to find 1/5 of 15. So I'm going to draw out my fraction. Again, I've got one whole rectangle. I'm going to cut it up into 5 pieces, 5 equal pieces. 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't laugh at me, Mr. Slay. And then I'm going to share 15 across each piece. Now, we talked about division before, and we could just share them equally. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But I'm going to use my inverse understanding. I'm going to use my times table understanding. So I'm going to say how many 5s go into 15? 5, 10, 15. 3 in each one. Okay. Now I'm going to look at my numerator. How many pieces am I looking at? I'm looking at just one piece. So 1/5 of 15 is the same as 3. We could also show this as a bar model, and I know that year 2 have been doing a fantastic job with the bar model this year. They've got here 15 as their whole. They need to split 15 into fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not very equal, I'm sorry. Not doing year 2 justice. Just the same as I've done, sharing between them. Looking at one piece, same answer. Okay, so let's have a look and see if we were going to do 3/5, a non-unit fraction of 15. So, exactly the same thing. Got my whole, I've split it into 5 pieces. I've shared 15 across the 5. How many 5s go into 15? 5, 10, 15. 3 in each piece, but this time I'm looking at 3 pieces. So now I know that I've got 3, 6, 9 in those 3 pieces I'm looking at. 3/5 of 15 is the same as 9. Now over to Mr. Slay, who's going to show you the same thing but without drawing it out. And now you'll understand exactly what he means while he's doing it.
Okay, yes, this is how we turn that very long-winded but very visual method into more of a formal method. So, I've changed, for the first time, our colours. So normally we would write all our numbers in red, but in this case I'm just going to change this to a numerator to a blue and the denominator to a yellow, simply from the fact that you'll be able to see it in the method much clearer. First thing I'm going to do is bring this 15 down here. Should have done that in black. Sorry about that. Because that is what I'm dividing, and actually this is asking me for 1/5 of that, so I have to find out what 1/5 of that is. I'm going to do that by dividing it by the denominator, because it's out of that. So 15 divided by 5 equals 3. Now, I've got my 3, and then I have to know how many of these numerators I have. In this case, it's actually 1. I'm just going to show you, if I can find the right colour. I'm going to bring this down here for my next bit, and then I'm going to do 3, and I'm going to multiply this by my numerator up here, because that's how many sections we have. In this case, it's 1, so 3 multiplied by 1 equals 3. So my answer is 3. Now, using this method, we can do this for non-unit fractions as well, and this is where this method might be a little bit better to use if we're using a very big fraction. Because if I'm changing this to 3, this is going to stay the same because I'm still dividing by 5. So 15 divided by the denominator, which is 5, which equals 3. But here now, this is 3/5. So that would be 3. And then 3 times 3 equals 9. So here, as we said, 3 times 3 equals 9, so 3/5 of 15 equals 9. Okay, here are 2 examples. We've got 5/9 of 36 and 12/45 of 180. Obviously, 2 very differing of abilities to have a go at. Mrs. Williams is going to be going through this one with her method, a visual method, and then I'll be going through this one as we're using bigger numbers through the more written out method. Pause the video, have a go at working both of them out, and we'll see you in a bit.
Okay, so I'm drawing mine out, my visual method. This is great for this kind of question, but as Mr. Slay said, the larger numbers, drawing it out is more difficult. So I'm drawing this out for visual learners so they understand what we're actually doing, but we're actually doing exactly the same thing, just one's drawn out, one's using arrows. So 5/9 of 36, I'm going to draw my hole. I'm going to equally cut them into 9 pieces. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'm going to share 36 across my hole. So 36, I'm going to go through my 9 times table. Remember, if you don't know your 9s, you should have been using repeated addition. We've talked about that when we were looking at multiplication. So 9 more is 18, 9 more is 27, 9 more is 36. Okay, so we know that that's 4. So I'm going to put 4 into each group. There, we've shared 36 across those 9. And we're going to be looking at 5 of those pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know that we've got 5 times 4, which is the same as 20.
Okay, moving on to 12/45 of 180. Now, if we're using Mrs. Williams' visual method, we would draw our rectangle out here, we would cut it into 45 equal sections, and then we would share our 180 equally into each of those sections. But obviously, we're not going to do that because that could be quite time consuming. So, using our other method, we are bringing our 180 down here, just so we've got a bit of space. And that's the only reason we're moving it down here. And then we're going to divide it same way as we did. So we're sharing by the 45, which is our denominator. And actually that's quite a tricky calculation to do. It's not something that I would necessarily do in my head, unless I knew my 45 times table. So 180 divided by 45 is actually quite a hard calculation to do. So I'm going to do it separately down here using our long division method or our bus stop method, same way as we have done in previous videos. So there's my 180. I'm going to use 45 in yellow just to show that these are all linked together, and I'm also going to create my facts bank up here for my 45 times table. So times by 1 equals 45, times by 2 equals 90, doubling that for my times 4 is 180, doubling that is 360, and to be fair, I'm going to stop there because I know actually I need 180, so I don't really need to go past that with my fact bank. So coming back down here, how many times does 45 go into 180? Following through the method, it doesn't go in there once, so I carry it over. Doesn't go in there into 18, so I carry it over. So now I've got my whole 180, use my fact bank, 4, so my answer in there is 4. No remainders, don't need to worry about that, don't need to work any decimals out. So my 4 is going to come over to here. So here we go, 180 divided by 45 equals 4. And then I'm going to draw this down here, just so we've got a bit more space. whoops, 45 multiplied by, if you remember, our numerator, which was 12, 4 multiplied by 12, and if I know my 12 times table, 12, 24, 36, 48. My answer being 48, so I can bring up here, 12 45ths of 180 equals 48. Just a quick mention, this is something that came up on our this year's key skills test for the government. Thank you, government, for this. 5/9 of 36, and actually 5/9 times by 36 is exactly the same thing. So here our of is kind of another product for multiplication. So 5/9 of 36 equals exactly the same as 5/9 of 36. It means the same thing.
So we're going to add our new learning of fractions of a number to our number mind map. So I'm going to do a very long line to here, where I'm going to put fractions of a number. Remember, we drew it out, we shared the number, we looked at the numerator, or we shared it using the denominator, we looked at the numerator, and we multiplied how many we were looking at it. With Mr. Slay's version, it's just the same as this, but without it being visual. We had the number, we shared the number across the denominator, and then we times our answer by the numerator. We also talked about how of was the same as multiply, thanks to the key skills confusion this year. And we're going to have to do a lot of linking for this, which is good news because it means that we've already used our previous understanding. So bear with me, there's going to be a lot of lines going round. We're going to come down here and along to multiplication, because we had to use a multiplication facts to share it out, and we also had to use a multiplication facts to times it by the numerator. Back up, and we're going to go up here. We're going to go all the way over to division, because we had to share, we had to divide that whole number by the denominator.